"Sir, you can't drive through the parade." The shout came half a second before a little white dog darted in front of my rental car. I slammed both feet on the brake. The tires squealed. Someone screamed. My chest hit the seatbelt so hard I lost my breath. Then a man ran into the street. He grabbed the dog, twisted away from my bumper, and landed on one knee with the animal pressed against his chest. For one horrible second, everything stopped. The marching band, the people lining the sidewalks, even the guy dressed like a giant ear of corn near the courthouse. Nobody moved. Then the dog licked the stranger's chin. The crowd erupted. I sat behind the wheel with both hands locked around it, trying to understand how a wrong turn had put me in the middle of a parade in Bellweather, Kentucky. 10 minutes earlier, I'd been on my way to Nashville for the biggest job interview of my life. Then my GPS sent me off the highway, my phone lost signal, and the rain started coming down hard enough to blur every road sign. I saw a gap between two orange barricades and assumed it was a detour. It wasn't. The man carrying the dog walked toward me while people raised their phones around him. He was tall, maybe 30, with dark hair damp from the rain and a faded green t-shirt clinging to his shoulders. Not that I noticed his shoulders. I was busy having a nervous breakdown. He tapped on my window. I lowered it. "You okay?" My mouth went dry. Did I hit him? No. He glanced down at the dog, who looked completely pleased with himself. This idiot's fine. I didn't see the barricade. I figured. His eyes held mine for a second. Calm. Steady. Annoyingly kind. Put the car in park. I did it without arguing. He handed the dog to a woman rushing over from the sidewalk, then opened my door. Come on. Come on where? Out of the parade. That was how I met Cole Bennett. I didn't know his name yet. I only knew half the town seemed to know him, and he somehow managed to guide my car through a crowd without yelling at me once. When we finally reached a side street, I stepped out on shaky legs. Rain hit my face. My heart was still pounding. Cole came around the hood and studied me like he was checking for damage. "You're pale." I almost killed a dog in front of a marching band. His mouth twitched. "You didn't." That's not really helping. Nobody got hurt. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Warm. Firm. It stayed there a little longer than necessary. Or maybe I imagined that part. I was stressed. He was being nice. That was all. Behind us, someone shouted, "Hero." I turned. 3 people were pointing at me. One woman was still filming. Cole looked back at the crowd, then at me. "Oh no." "What?" He let out a quiet breath. "I think they believe you swerved to save the dog." I almost drove into a tuba player. They didn't film that part. By the time I checked into the only motel in town, the video had already been posted online. The caption read, "Mystery Driver Saves Parade PUP." It had 12,000 views. Bellweather's population was barely 3,000. And in the final frame, Cole's hand was still resting on my shoulder. By 8 the next morning, 3 strangers had asked for my picture. 1 woman had hugged me, and the motel clerk had given me a free blueberry muffin for bravery. I had not been brave. I had been lost, soaked, and one bad decision away from flattening a marching band. Still, when I walked into the only coffee shop open on Main Street, the entire room went quiet. Then someone started clapping. My stomach dropped. A few more people joined in until half the place was applauding like I had just returned from war. I stood near the door, frozen, while rain dripped from my jacket onto the floor. "Please do not encourage them." Cole's voice came from behind the counter. He was wearing a dark apron over a gray shirt, his hair still slightly messy like he had not bothered fighting it that morning. He looked different indoors. Softer somehow. Less like the guy who had pulled a dog out of traffic and more like someone who knew exactly how everyone in the room took their coffee. His eyes met mine and stayed there for a second too long. "Your table is over there, hero." A few people laughed. "Do not call me that. I did try to warn you." I crossed the room while an older man leaned over and whispered, "Nice driving, son." I decided not to explain. Cole set a mug in front of me before I reached the counter. Black coffee, 1 sugar. Exactly how I had ordered it at the motel vending station the night before, when he had stopped by to make sure I had not suffered a delayed panic attack. I stared at the cup. "How did you know?" He shrugged and reached for a towel. "You told me. Once. I have a good memory. That should have been normal." He ran a coffee shop. Remembering orders was probably 90% of the job. Still, something tightened in my chest when he slid the mug closer and his fingers brushed mine. Neither of us moved immediately. Then Cole looked down at our hands and pulled back. "Careful. It is hot." Right. My voice came out quieter than I wanted. I carried the coffee to a small table by the window and opened my laptop, determined to focus on my interview notes. That lasted maybe 30 seconds. A local news site had posted my picture under the headline, "Chicago Man Saves Beloved Parade Dog." Below it was a still frame of Cole standing beside me, his hand on my shoulder. Someone in the comments had written, "They make a cute team." I closed the page so fast I nearly spilled my coffee. Cole appeared beside the table with a plate of eggs and toast. I did not order food. "You look like you forgot breakfast." I had a muffin. He glanced at me. That was not breakfast. The way he said it was casual. The way he set the plate down was not. He had added hot sauce on the side without asking, exactly the brand I liked. I looked up. "Do you do this for every stranger who almost ruins the town festival?" His mouth curved, but his eyes stayed serious. "Only the ones who look like they might disappear if nobody keeps an eye on them." My heart gave one hard, stupid beat. Before I could answer, my phone rang. The rental company. I stepped outside, listened, and felt my entire week collapse. The car needed a replacement axle. For days, minimum. When I went back inside, Cole took one look at my face and leaned against the counter. "Bad news. I am stuck here until Friday." He was quiet for a moment. Then, almost too casually, he said, "Good thing I have a room upstairs." "You rent rooms to random men you meet in parades?" I tried to make it sound like a joke. Cole did not laugh. He just held my gaze from behind the counter, one hand resting on the coffee pot. "Only the famous ones." That should have made it easier. It did not. An hour later, I was carrying my bag up a narrow staircase behind the shop, while Cole walked ahead of me with my suitcase like it weighed nothing. The apartment above the cafe was small but comfortable. Old hardwood floors. A narrow hallway. 2 bedrooms across from each other. "Bathroom is at the end," Cole explained. "Kitchen is downstairs unless you enjoy cooking on a hot plate." "I barely enjoy cooking with an actual stove." "Good. Then we will survive." He opened the guest room. There was a full bed, a small desk, and a window overlooking Main Street. From up there, I could still see the chalk sign outside the cafe. "Today's special, Hero Hash." I closed my eyes. "Please tell me you did not name breakfast after me." Cole leaned against the doorframe. "Martha did." "Who is Martha?" "The woman who owns the dog." "Of course she did." His smile came slowly. Not teasing exactly. More like he was watching to see if I would smile back. I did. That was the problem. For the next 2 days, we fell into a routine way too easily. I worked from the table by the window while Cole handled the morning rush. He started leaving my coffee there before I came downstairs. Black. 1 sugar. Sometimes toast. Once, a note that read, "Eat something before noon." That one sat beside my laptop for 3 hours because I could not decide why it bothered me so much. Not in a bad way. In a way that made me feel noticed. I told myself he was like that with everyone. Then I watched him forget a regular customer's tea order twice. On Wednesday afternoon, the cafe's digital menu crashed during lunch. Cole stared at the blank screen like it had personally betrayed him. "I can fix that," I offered. "You sure?" "I design branding systems for a living." He looked me over. "So the mysterious parade hero has skills." "1 skill. Maybe 2. What is the second?" His tone was light, but his eyes stayed on mine. I forgot what I was about to say. A woman waiting for coffee glanced between us and smiled. "You two are cute." My face went hot instantly. Cole turned toward the espresso machine. "He is temporary." The words landed harder than they should have. I focused on the screen. "Very temporary." The woman hummed like she did not believe either of us. We worked on the menu after closing. Just the 2 of us in the darkened cafe, sitting close behind the counter because the router cable barely reached. At one point, Cole leaned over my shoulder to see the screen. His chest brushed my back. His hand settled beside mine on the mouse. The space suddenly felt too small. I stopped breathing. "Sorry." He did not move. "You are fine." Neither of us sounded convincing. The lights flickered, then went out completely. Cole's hand found my wrist in the dark. "Stay there." I was not planning to run. "Good." His thumb shifted once against my skin. "Slow. Careful." When the emergency light clicked on, we were still standing too close. He looked down at where he was holding me, then back at my face. For a second, nobody spoke. Then the power returned. Cole let go. The moment disappeared. The next morning, I came downstairs and found a small reserved sign on my usual table. Underneath, written in black marker, was one word. Ethan. The reserved sign should not have mattered. It was a piece of cardboard with my name written on it in black marker. That was all. But when I looked up, Cole was watching me from behind the counter. Too much. His voice was casual. His expression was not. I set my laptop down slowly. No, it is nice. Nice sounds dangerous. It is a sign, Cole. Right. He looked away first. That should have ended it. Instead, the day kept finding new ways to make everything worse. He brought me lunch without asking. Turkey sandwich, no onions, extra mustard. He left his jacket on the back of my chair when the air conditioning got too cold. And when I rubbed my temple after a long client call, he slid a glass of water beside my keyboard without saying a word. By noon, I had run out of excuses. He was not just being polite. Nobody was that polite. Around 3, Martha walked in with the little white dog tucked under one arm and stopped when she saw me at my table. There he is. She turned to Cole. You taking good care of our celebrity? Cole glanced at me. Trying to. You two make a good pair. My face heated. Cole picked up a coffee cup and started polishing it even though it was already clean. Ethan is leaving Friday. Martha looked between us, unimpressed. That was not what I asked. The silence after that felt way too loud. I stared at my laptop. Cole stared at the cup. Martha smiled like she had just won something and walked away. Later, I found Cole outside near the alley, talking to a man in a navy work shirt. The guy was tall, good-looking, and familiar enough to touch Cole's arm when he laughed. I slowed before I could stop myself. Cole noticed. His eyes moved to me immediately. The other man followed his gaze. This the parade guy? Ethan, Cole corrected. Something in my chest tightened at how quickly he said my name. The man offered his hand. Lucas, I own the garage fixing your car. Of course he did. I shook his hand and felt ridiculous. Cole watched me the entire time. After Lucas left, he folded his arms. You were staring. I was not. You were. I was trying to figure out who he was. His mouth curved slightly. Why? Were you worried? The question hit harder than it should have. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Cole took one slow step closer. The alley suddenly felt too narrow. Ethan, he was touching you. I heard myself say it and immediately wanted to disappear. Cole's smile faded. Not because he was upset, because he was taking me seriously. Lucas is my cousin. Oh, yeah. Rainwater dripped from the fire escape above us. Neither of us moved. Cole was close enough that I could see the small scar near his chin. Close enough that I noticed his breathing change. Would it have bothered you, he murmured, if he was not? My heart started pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. I do not know. It was a lie. Cole looked down at my mouth. Just once. Then back at my eyes. His hand lifted like he was about to touch my face, but stopped halfway. For one suspended second, I thought he might kiss me. I did not step back. Neither did he. Then the cafe door opened behind us. Cole, the milk delivery is here. He dropped his hand. The space between us returned all at once. Right. He stepped away. Coming. He walked inside without looking back. I stayed in the alley, breathing like I had just run a mile, with one question stuck in my head. What would have happened if nobody had opened that door? By the time I came back inside, half the town apparently knew Cole, and I had been standing alone in the alley. Nobody said it directly. That would have been too easy. Instead, Martha smiled at me over her coffee like she had caught me sneaking out of church. Lucas came in for lunch and gave Cole a look that lasted just long enough to make my face heat. Even the teenage cashier, Ava, kept glancing between us while pretending to restock napkins. Cole acted normal. Too normal. He moved behind the counter, took orders, wiped tables, and never once looked at me for more than a second. I told myself that was good. We had almost done something stupid. Getting interrupted had saved us from making the next 4 days painfully awkward. The problem was, every time Cole passed my table without stopping, my chest tightened. Around noon, a woman in a bright yellow blazer entered with the mayor and walked straight toward us. There they are. Cole closed his eyes briefly. No, the mayor ignored him. Ethan, this is Dana Brooks from the county paper. Dana shook my hand with the kind of smile that made me immediately suspicious. The video is still climbing. People love the two of you. There is no two of us, Cole replied. Dana looked from him to me. That is not what the comments think. She showed us her phone. A photo from outside the cafe filled the screen. Cole's hand was on my lower back, guiding me through the crowd. The caption read, Bellweather's favorite new couple? My stomach flipped. We are not a couple. I managed. Perfect. The mayor clapped his hands once. Then pretending for one afternoon should be easy. Cole's jaw tightened. The library fundraiser was that Saturday, and ticket sales had doubled after someone announced that the parade heroes might attend together. The roof had been leaking for months. They needed every dollar. Absolutely not, Cole muttered. The mayor lowered his voice. We are not asking you to lie. Just stand together. Smile. Let people have their harmless little story. Cole looked at me. Something guarded had returned to his face. Maybe he was remembering the alley. Maybe he regretted it. Ethan leaves Friday. Actually, Dana cut in. The fundraiser was moved up to tomorrow night. Silence. I should have refused. Instead, I pictured the old library at the end of Main Street, plastic buckets catching rainwater beneath the ceiling. I will do it. Cole's eyes snapped to mine. You do not have to. It is a few pictures. People will assume things. They already do. That came out sharper than I meant. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Cole looked away. Fine. The next evening, I stood behind the library trying to fix Cole's tie while music and voices drifted through the open doors. Hold still. You are making it worse. You tied it like you were fighting it. My fingers brushed his collar. Cole went completely still. I could feel his breath against my forehead. Ethan. My hands paused. What? He looked down at me, serious now. Do not make this feel real unless you mean it. The words landed somewhere deep. Before I could answer, Dana pushed through the door with her camera raised. There you are. Closer together, please. Cole's hand settled at my waist. It was supposed to be for the picture, just part of the act. But when the flash went off, he did not let go. The flash went off 3 more times before Cole finally moved his hand. Even then, his fingers dragged lightly across my side, like letting go took more effort than it should have. Dana checked the pictures and grinned. Perfect. You two look convincing. Cole's eyes stayed on me. Yeah, he murmured. That is the problem. I spent the next hour pretending I had not heard him. People kept pulling us into conversations, thanking me for saving the dog, thanking Cole for saving me, laughing about how Bellweather had apparently adopted us both. Every few minutes, someone made a comment about us being a couple. At first, I corrected them. Then I stopped. Cole stopped, too. Near the end of the night, an older woman from the library board touched my arm and smiled. He has not looked this happy in a long time. My chest tightened. Cole. She nodded toward him across the room. He was talking to the mayor, but his attention was not there. His eyes were on me. The second I noticed, he looked away. I needed air. I slipped out the back door and sat on the library steps, elbows on my knees, trying to slow my breathing. A minute later, the door opened behind me. Cole came outside without his jacket. You disappeared. I was overwhelmed. He sat beside me, leaving a few inches between us. Not enough. By the fundraiser? By everything. He looked out at the parking lot. That narrows it down. I laughed once, but it came out nervous. The silence stretched. I could hear music through the wall and the faint buzz of the streetlights. What you said earlier, I began. About it being a problem. Cole rubbed his hands together, eyes lowered. I should not have said that. That is not an answer. His jaw tightened. For a second, I thought he would stand up and leave. Instead, he turned toward me. Fine. It felt real. My pulse jumped. Cole looked frustrated with himself now, like the words had been dragged out against his better judgment. The pictures. Your hands on my tie. Standing next to you while everyone acted like we belonged together. He swallowed. I did not hate it. I stared at him. Cole, I know you are leaving. His voice dropped. I know this started because you took the wrong road and got stuck here. I know I should let it stay simple. He laughed under his breath, but there was no humor in it. It is not simple anymore. My heart was pounding. I wanted to tell him he was not alone, that I had been noticing every look, every touch, every stupid cup of coffee. But before I could, the back door opened again. Lucas leaned out. Sorry, they need Cole for the check presentation. Cole closed his eyes briefly. Of course they do. He stood, then hesitated. His hand brushed mine on the step. This time, it was not an accident. His fingers curled around mine for one quiet second. Do not leave before I get back. He let go and walked inside. I sat there staring at my hand, knowing exactly what he meant, and knowing he was not only talking about the fundraiser. I waited for Cole after the fundraiser. For 20 minutes, then 30. By the time the last folding table was being carried inside, he still had not come back. I told myself he was busy. That was the reasonable explanation. Then I saw him through the library window talking to Dana and the mayor, smiling like nothing had happened on those steps. Like he had not held my hand and asked me not to leave. My chest tightened. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe the moment had only felt important because I wanted it to. I walked back to the apartment alone. The next morning, Cole was already behind the counter when I came downstairs. My coffee was waiting at the reserved table, but he did not look up when I entered. "You disappeared last night." I kept my voice light. He wiped the same spot on the counter twice. "The mayor trapped me." "For over an hour?" "It got complicated." "Right." He finally glanced at me. There were shadows under his eyes. "Ethan, you do not have to explain." "I think I do." Before he could continue, Ava rushed in from the back room, holding my laptop. "Your Nashville email keeps making noise." My stomach dropped. The screen was open. Across the top was a message from the company I had interviewed with. "Final offer. Start date confirmation." Cole saw it. His face changed so quickly I almost missed it. Not anger. Something quieter. "Worse. You got the job." "I have not answered yet." He nodded once and turned toward the espresso machine. "Congratulations." "Cole, that is what you came here for, right?" His voice stayed calm, but every word felt carefully measured. "To get to Nashville. I came here because my GPS failed." "Exactly." The distance in his tone made my stomach twist. For the rest of the morning, he treated me like a customer. Polite. Helpful. Nothing more. He did not sit at my table. He did not leave food beside my laptop. When our hands nearly touched over a coffee cup, he pulled back first. By lunch, I could not take it anymore. I followed him into the kitchen after the last customer left. "Are you avoiding me?" Cole set a stack of plates into the sink. "I am working. You have been working 10 feet away from me for 3 days. This is different." His shoulders tightened. "You got what you wanted." "You mean the job?" "A way out." That hurt more than it should have. "You think I have been waiting to escape?" Cole turned then. His expression was controlled, but his eyes were not. "I think you were always leaving." The room went quiet except for the faucet dripping behind him. And I think I forgot that. I stepped closer. "What happened last night was not fake to me." His jaw flexed. "That makes it worse." "Why?" "Because I already know how this goes." He looked away. "People like the town for a week. They like me for a little longer. Then real life starts again. I am not your ex." "No," his eyes came back to mine. "But you are leaving just like he did." My chest tightened. "I have not decided anything. Your car is fixed tomorrow. The job starts Monday. What exactly is left to decide?" I had no answer that would not sound like a promise I was not ready to make. Cole saw that. He gave a small, tired nod and stepped back. "That is what I thought." He walked out of the kitchen before I could stop him. A few minutes later, my phone rang. Lucas from the garage. The rental car was ready early. I could leave Bellweather that afternoon. I packed in less than 10 minutes. Not because I wanted to leave. Because standing in that apartment, looking at the room Cole had given me, felt worse than moving. I carried my bag downstairs through the back hallway. The cafe was nearly empty. Cole stood behind the counter, stacking clean mugs without looking at me. My reserved sign was gone. I stopped beside the table. "So that is it." His hands paused. "Your car is ready." That was not what I asked. Cole set the mug down carefully. "What do you want me to say, Ethan?" "Something honest." He finally looked at me. His eyes were tired. Guarded. I was honest. "No. You decided how this ends without asking me. You are holding a suitcase." I dropped the handle. The wheels hit the floor with a hard thud. "Because you made it clear I was not welcome here." His expression shifted. "I never said that." "You did not have to." The room went quiet. Ava glanced over from the register, took one look at us, and disappeared into the kitchen. Cole came around the counter slowly. "You have a job waiting for you." "Yes." "A life in another city." "Yes." "Then what am I supposed to do with that?" His voice cracked just enough to make my chest tighten. "Pretend these 4 days meant nothing?" I stepped closer. "I am the one asking you to stop pretending." He looked away. His jaw worked like he was holding something back. "You do not understand." "Then tell me." "I do not want to be your story from the weird little town you got stuck in." The words came out low and fast. "I do not want to be the guy you think about for a month and then forget when your real life gets busy." "Cole." "And I do not want you to stay because you feel guilty." I reached for his hand before I could overthink it. His fingers went still beneath mine. "I am not staying out of guilt." He looked down at our hands. "Then why are you still here?" My throat tightened. There it was. The question I had been avoiding since the alley. Since the coffee. Since the first time his hand stayed on my shoulder too long. "Because leaving you feels wrong." Cole's eyes lifted to mine. For a second, neither of us moved. That is not a plan, he whispered. I know. You could change your mind. I know. This could be hard. I know that too. His fingers slowly turned beneath mine until our palms met. You are not making a very strong argument. I am not asking you to trust a perfect promise. I tightened my hold. I am asking you to let me try. Cole stared at me for a long moment. Then he stepped closer. Not enough to touch anywhere but our hands. Enough that I could feel the warmth of him. You came back downstairs with your bag. I did. Were you really going to leave? I looked toward the front door, then back at him. I was going to get as far as the highway. His mouth twitched. And then, probably turn around. Another wrong turn. Maybe my first right one. Cole let out a breath that sounded almost like a laugh. His forehead lowered until it rested lightly against mine. No kiss. Not yet. Just the two of us standing in the middle of the cafe, finally done pretending nothing had changed. Do not leave today, he murmured. I closed my eyes. I will not. I did not leave that day. I did not make a dramatic speech, either. I just carried my bag back upstairs, called the company in Nashville, and asked for 2 extra days before my start date. They gave me 1. Cole stood in the doorway while I finished the call, arms folded, trying to look calm. So, he murmured, you are staying until tomorrow. That is what I said. Not forever. No, I looked at him. But not disappearing, either. Something in his face softened. The next morning, we opened the cafe together. The routine looked almost the same. Cole made coffee. I claimed the table by the window. Ava complained about being scheduled too early. Martha came in with the dog and immediately noticed my suitcase was no longer by the door. Well, she announced, looks like someone missed the highway. Cole nearly dropped a mug. I stared into my coffee. I am still leaving for Nashville. Martha smiled. Sure, honey. By noon, the whole town knew I had stayed an extra day. By 2, someone had put the reserved sign back on my table. This time, underneath my name, there was another word. Weekends. I found Cole behind the counter pretending not to watch me read it. You made that. Ava did. Ava looked up from the register. No, I did not. Cole gave her a warning look. She grinned and walked into the kitchen. I picked up the sign. Weekends. Nashville is 2 hours away. He kept polishing the same spoon. 2.5 with traffic. Still manageable. You checked. His eyes met mine. Maybe. My chest tightened in that quiet, annoying way it had since the first day. Only now, I did not have to pretend it meant nothing. That evening, after closing, Cole made 2 sandwiches and turned off the front lights. We sat together at my table while rain tapped against the window. No cameras. No mayor. No one telling us where to stand. Just us. This is our first date, then? I asked. Cole took a bite and considered it. That depends. On what? Are you going to spend the entire time talking about traffic? Probably. Then no. I laughed. His knee pressed against mine beneath the table. He did not move it. Neither did I. After a while, the room went quiet. Cole looked at me the way he had in the alley, on the library steps, behind the counter when I dropped my suitcase. Only this time, there was no interruption coming. Can I kiss you? The question was so simple it nearly undid me. I nodded. Yeah. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to change my mind. I did not. The kiss was brief. Warm. A little nervous. When we pulled apart, Cole rested his forehead against mine and laughed under his breath. The town is going to be unbearable. They already are. Good point. A month later, I had an apartment in Nashville and a key to the cafe. I drove back most Friday nights. Sometimes Cole came to me instead. It was not perfect. We missed calls. We argued about schedules. Once, I got stuck in traffic for 3 hours and arrived after midnight to find him asleep at my table. But we kept choosing the next visit, the next call, the next morning coffee. The reserved sign stayed by the window, even when I was gone. One Friday, I walked in and found Cole serving a customer from my seat. He saw me, smiled, and moved the woman to another table without explanation. Then he reached across the counter and took my hand where everyone could see. He did not let go. Neither did I. I became famous in Bellweather because I took one wrong turn. But Cole was the first thing in my life that made me stop looking for the fastest way out.